So that brings us now to one of my favorite parts of our gets-togethers, which is Chris Course and our My Build.
Hey,
So
thanks,
with that,
Phil.
I will throw it over to you, Chris.
All right, let's get the screen share going here. Oops, helps to do it right the first time. All right, there it is. Okay, welcome everybody. Happy New Year. All right, it'll give it a second here and it'll pop right up. There we go. Okay. All right, welcome tonight's My Build. It is a free-for-all. So whatever you've got, whatever you're working on, we'd love to see it. And it helps to use the right mouse. All right, first up, we've got Greg Cassidy. Heard you earlier, Greg. You still around?
Yes, I've hung around.
All right, let's go.
All right, I'll zip through this. Okay, something that I know many of you are very familiar with, but is kind of new to me, is building an old wooden kit, a wooden car kit. I've done tons of structures, but most of my rail equipment has been plastic. And while it wasn't ready to run, I mostly built it by the instructions and just did some detailing. But I'm working towards my car AP, so I picked this up just to get the feel of it. So this is a LaBelle 40-foot boxcar, and I picked up some trucks to go with it. So next slide. So this is everything that I got, and there's supposed to be a boxcar there. Most of the pieces I'm familiar with, but there were some new pieces in there that I hadn't seen before. And I'm going to get familiar with them. Next slide. So this is what it's supposed to look like when I'm done with it. So we'll see how close I get. And I'll let you know, I'm still working on this. So this is a in progress, My Build. Next. So I started by getting all of the stuff for the undercarriage ready, and I started cleaning up the queen posts and figuring out how I was going to put those in. Next. So I started going by the directions, which sometimes is good, sometimes is bad, but that's what I did in this case. And I marked out where the queen posts were going to go. Next. And I went ahead and cut out in the center beam where it had to sit over the queen posts. And like I said, this is stuff that I do for structures all the time, but working on a car like this was a little new. Next. And I went ahead and drilled through where my brake line was going to go. And this is probably after watching about 100 of Martin's videos, and he makes it all look so easy. And every step I was doing, I'm going, is this the right thing? Should I do this? But I'm sure once I'm on my 10th or 20th, I won't feel like that. Next. And then I started putting in some of my brake line and the center beam, and the trucks were ready to go on. And I went ahead and picked some of Jeff Adams' truck spacers, which worked great in this situation. Next. And so that gave me my perfect spacing for what I was going to do. And I checked it on my coupler height gauge by putting the couplers where they were going to go, and everything looked like it was working pretty good. So far, so good. Next. So then I started working on all the brake line, and this would have a K-brake system. And I had to do a lot of research because this is the kind of stuff where with most of the kits I've done, I just glued in the plastic piece that came with it or plastic pieces. And I kind of knew what was what, but when I'm having to actually lay it out and arrange it myself, especially working with an older system like this, I had to do a lot of research to see what stuff was supposed to go where and how I was going to make it. So next. And this is where I got by the time I sent the photos into Chris, which was last week. And when I got to this point, I started realizing that my cylinder was a little too far outboard, but that was because of where the queen posts were. So after this picture was done, I took out the cylinder. I took out that bent wire that I had made as a hanger. And I started again, moving the cylinder further inboard, and I started making more of straps for hangers and stuff. And you guys might see the finished piece on the next My Build. So I think that's it, Chris, right?
I think so. Yep.
Yep.
Sure is. Quick question for you. I noticed you used Jeff from Motrack. You used his spacers, and
Uh-huh.
you had it looked like a KD spacer on your workbench there.
Yes.
What was the reasoning behind that?
I could only find one Katie spacer in my whole junk box.
I've got about 1,000 of them in about 2 feet from me.
Well, I knew I had that package of Jeff's stuff that I must have gotten over a year ago. And I said, you know what? It's finally time to open that package.
Yeah,
Honest to God,
cool.
if I'd had two Katie spacers, that package would still be in a drawer somewhere.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't realize he made those, but that's a good find.
Yeah, it actually worked out pretty good.
Yeah. All right. We look forward to seeing what you're coming up with next month. Does anybody have any questions for Greg?
Hey, Greg,
Yeah.
the wiring that you had on the bottom of your build,
Uh-huh.
did they give you a guide on the angles to bend that?
Not really. They do have a drawing that kind of shows a generic K-brake layout, but these are old instructions and the printing wasn't very good. And I wanted something a little better than that. So I found some stuff online. And I actually talked to Martin a little bit and he gave me some advice. So I think what I have now, as opposed to what's in this picture right now, I'm finally going down the right track.
Now, what did you use to make the bends?
Pair of pliers.
Okay.
And I think, again, this is a learning process. First time I've done something like this. I found that where my air hoses came out on both ends of the car were just a little too close to the coupler pocket from what they probably should have been. And so I'll just have to live with that on this one. I mean, the coupler pocket fits in there, but the air hoses should be a little further away, I think.
Yeah.
So live and learn.
Yeah, I noticed those Queens posts. They look like I'm looking at a Red Ball kit right now, and I think that's probably the same stuff. So
Very well could be. And
yeah.
by the way, I'm going to be talking to you about making sure you bring some stuff up to Timonium that I want to get from you. So I'll be in touch.
Yeah. Matter of fact, it's funny because I was working on the newsletter before we started the show here, and that's actually one of the items in the newsletter is if you want anything, let me know now so I can put it aside for you because I call it the Conowingo Models canoe can only take so much.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Any more questions for Greg before we move on? All righty. Well, thank you, Greg. And I've got something I wanted to share. I've actually been working on a little project. It's kind of something that a little structure that I've been passing by from time to time, and it's actually a little bit further south from me. There are a series of these little old motels. There's like 3 or 4 of them, and the one pictured there on the left is probably the most photogenic of them. And so I decided to make a build of it and see if because I've kind of wanted to do a motel of some sort, like a nice little motor lodge motel, kind of backwoods thing that like up in the Adirondacks or whatever that people would be interested in putting on their layouts. So anyway, I just because I always drive by it so quickly, I ended up pulling pictures off of Google to duplicate it. So I did, and what you see on the right there is what I've been able to come up with so far. Obviously, it doesn't have roofing on it yet, but figured I'd share it. Yeah, see, there's a picture of multiples. The one that I showed you is actually the one on the right. They've had several of them have had different modifications over the years, but you notice it's got a nice sliding window on that one side, on that we'll call it the right side. So I figure it's probably a place that people stopped by. And this is actually located in Darlington, Maryland on Route 1. So I figured it was at one time it was probably a vacation destination, or maybe people were just passing through on their way from like Philly to Baltimore or wherever and were looking for a place to spend the night. But it was probably a nice little motel at the time. And so we've got these photos of it. And here are a couple more photos of what I've done. I've got a couple names rattling around in my head. I've always wanted to name a motel after the Rolling Stones song Memory Motel. The catch with that though is the Memory Motel is a real place and it looks nothing like this. And even it's a very visual song, and even then it doesn't really show up as this in my mind. But then I started thinking, oh, there's Tom Petty was in a band called Mudcrutch, and in fact, it might have. I'm not quite sure. It might have been on the very last album that he was on the second Mudcrutch album. He talked about Crystal River, so I was thinking maybe Crystal River Inn. That was a possibility, but kind of thinking with all these pine trees in these other photos, maybe I could do like a little homage to it and call it because now I own Sugar Pine Models. That's part of Conowingo Models now. Call it the Sugar Pine Motel, something along those lines. I think that would kind of lend to it. But my question is, what I'm looking to do is maybe incorporate this into a kit, maybe include 3 of them, and then like a motel office that may be some derivative of the Painter General Store. Just kind of curious, or would people be interested in this sort of thing?
I think it sounds good, especially if you market it as a series of little, motor camps like they used to have back from the 20s up to the 50s. Especially if you also produce maybe a sign that could say Sugar Pine Motel or could say motel, and then people could put their own name on it or something like that.
Yeah, it'd probably come up with a variety of different sign options.
So what scale are you
This
doing
would
it?
be HO.
Yeah, I would be interested if it was O scale.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would put probably a shingle roof on it, and it would get a smoke jack on there because that would make it usable year round. But yeah, I think so. Are other people interested in this or?
Crickets.
Crickets? Oh,
And
okay.
send Chris a comment in the chat if you're interested. If you didn't want to say
Yeah.
anything, just use the chat.
So, all right. Well, I figured I'd share what I was working on, see if I can get a temperature for it, and I guess we will move on now. Oh, are there any questions? All right, so we'll move on. All right, next up is Phil.
So this is actually a build of the warehouse that Bill Banta did back about 2 years ago. He did a build along with this warehouse, and I bought it at the time. I was, I think, committed at the time to doing a convention, so I couldn't. I just wasn't able to build it then, and it is much as Greg said. This is a work in progress. Basically, what I've decided to do is turn this into a strawberry / fruit warehouse, transfer or trans-shipping point. So basically, the kit itself is pretty much built the basic structure to the kit plans. For those of you who haven't done one of these, this is Bill Banta does the MDF core laser cut, and then individual boards that are actually laser cut out of plywood for the siding on the building. I did replace some of the trim with strip wood, just because I thought it looked better when you got the on the sides, etc. The front porch I changed from having braces that came from the house and actually built braces that run down to the deck. It's now on a piece of masonite that's mounted into the layout, and what you see is what I think I've shown this before, the idea of using some cellophane to cover that and then running Sculptamold up to it so it actually fits into the ground before you put it into place. I did, Tom Farrell did a building and had a building that had my name on it and his layout, so I am returning the favor or the curse, depending on one's view, to Farrell and Sons strawberry and fruit transportation shipping. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. So I've got a few slides of kind of the things yeah, there we go. That's kind of a shot of the building. One of the things I also did was I added on the back a place for trucks to offload the strawberry crates before they were moved inside the warehouse. And if you notice the roofing there, that's actually tar paper roofing done with construction paper. If we have my technique sometime, I'll walk through kind of the process of doing that. The entire roofing was basically one sheet of construction paper. I bought a package of 50 at Michael's on sale, and I think that's all the buildings I'll ever build in my lifetime are in those 50 sheets. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. Just a couple more pictures of the structure. Like I said, as it shows, it sits on the layout. It's kind of on a spur, kind of at the end of the spur. Go ahead and jump to the next slide. So one of the things I decided, I kind of like the idea of having buildings be open and be able to see inside and etc. This building, there are no people in it yet. Figures are kind of one of my big challenges to get figures into the layout. So I need to get figures in. But one of the things I decided that I wanted to have some strawberry crates to represent the strawberries that were being shipped. So basically, these are 3D printed. I designed essentially a block of crates. You'll see that in a minute. And then some individual crates, and then some blocks of 3 and blocks of 7. And those were all printed and then painted. And I'm not incredibly happy with the painting, but it's kind of okay. If you jump to, and actually kind of see on the left of the lower slide, you can kind of see the strawberries in there. If you jump to the next slide. The building is illuminated. Is that the last slide, Chris? Is that what the last one?
One more, or at least one more. I should say.
Okay, there we go. So this is kind of the last one that I really wanted to show you. So these are the strawberry crates. So essentially they're printed. It's a filament printer. The spacers are 0.4 millimeters, which is the thickness of the print head. Which actually looks really good. This is an O scale. What you're seeing here is the big block on the left was actually printed as a block and glued together. The sides and the top there, and then the top that kind of sticks off to the right, were all glued together. And then I glued on some additional crates to give it some variance. The strawberries are actually 0.6 millimeter beads. I bought those. I don't know if it was on Amazon or on eBay, but I think for $8 or $10, I bought this bag of beads, and I expected to get a bag of beads, and it turns out it's a little tiny pouch. And when I looked at it, it just doesn't look like much. It said these little red dots, but I think there were about 10,000 of them in the bag, and these were just spread out on here and then glued on with diluted white glue and a lot of diluted water to wet everything. But I think in the end, it came out pretty well. If you look on the right, the office was actually closed in, and I just used tissue over the windows there to give the impression of lighting. So I think that's it, Chris.
Yep, sure is.
So any questions, comments, thoughts? If not,
I think your painting on the crates looks great. I mean, I don't know what strawberry crates really should look like, but They look like they're used crates.
Yeah, that's right. I was hoping to get a little more wood graining, but my dry brushing skills and my patience were low. Uh, so to speak. The other thing, if you go back one slide, what's interesting about the lighting is the lighting in this picture looks really good because I'm amazed how well the iPhone does on taking a picture like this.
Yeah.
It was one of these things where it told me to hold this camera steady for about 2 seconds, and then it took the picture and it processed it to generate this. One of the things actually I found was the light that I put in, I put too much resistance on it. And I actually need to take a couple of resistors out and or resistors, lower the values to raise it. And I thought I eliminated that band of light there at the roof. I'll have to go back and look at that when I do it again. But anyway, it was a very fun kit. Again, I'll highly recommend Bill's kits. I've built a number of his kits and find them to be, work exactly the way he says. So anyway, with that, back to you, Chris.
All right, thanks, Phil.
In
Yeah,
your last picture, Phil, over to the right, you see that black box. What did you use for lighting in that box?
Oh, go over here.
Yeah.
So I didn't take a picture of it. If you look where the lights are, the on right to the kind of the bottom of that black there, where you see the wires going down, I actually 3D printed, just like I did for that station depot I talked about 3 to 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I 3D printed a little fixture that a 3mm LED can push down into from the top, and then 3D printed a clear, kind of, for lack of a better word, a globe there, or a diffuser, and that's actually what does the light in there. It gives a nice diffuse light pattern. And then because I wasn't gonna have the windows, I decided not to put an interior there. I just painted everything black. And that was the Tom Farrell. That was the thing I learned from Tom, is if you're not going to put an interior in a building, just paint it black inside.
So it's really
someone asked. What?
It's really not a box then. It's just stuck to the elevated thing that's up.
Oh
higher.
yeah. All that is a piece of balsa wood and a block glued to that wall.
Okay.
With the lights on it. That's all it is. Yep.
Phil, I like
That's just a divider wall.
Phil, I like the way you stained the siding. What did you use? You use a stain, or did you have your own mix?
I have two big bottles of ink, India ink / alcohol. One is slightly a little browner, and that's the one I used on this. So it's primarily that. And I use those on just about everything as basic staining.
Yeah, very nice finish.
Thank you. Yeah, the other thing, there are a few things in here I did a little differently, and the porch there, if you notice, Bill had you put the fascia board on the porch below the piece of MDF. There's a piece of the MDF floor of the building that stretches out, and the floorboards there are actually glued to that MDF. In the way he built the kit, that MDF was actually visible. What I ended up doing was I put my trim piece on the MDF, and then I cut the boards so they would go over past the MDF. Because I thought that would, having that little piece of MDF there always looked kind of funky to me, especially when you take a photograph. I mean, it's not bad if you got a model sitting in your layout and somebody's just looking at it on your layout, but if you decide to take a photo, I think it ends up being something people notice, et cetera. So yeah, like I said, I was really happy with the kit in the building. I bought this, like I said, 2 years ago when Bill did it, and it's been sitting for a long time. I finally had this location where I could put it, and I'm really, really happy I bought it and put it in this location.
While we're talking about Bill Banta, if I could throw in one more thing. Recently, he was interviewed online, and he pointed out that his company, or he, has produced several hundred kits in the course of the operation of his business, not all of which are on his webpage today. But he said that if you're aware of one of his past kits not on his webpage and want it, email him, and he may very well be able to produce one of his past kits for you on a special order basis. I recently did that with one of his O-scale structures that was no longer cataloged. And lo and behold, in like 3 weeks after I emailed him, I had the kit in my mailbox.
Yeah, Bill's a good guy. I'm gonna give Bill a call. I'd love to have him do another build along. It's especially for this kind of building that can go on almost any layout. It's a neat way to do it. So cool. Well, thanks, Chris. I will
Yep.
give it back
Thanks,
to
Phil.
you.
Alrighty. And if there are no questions, we'll move on. All right. Thanks, Phil. All right, Bernd.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, let's get started here.
Okay, you guys know I'm building an HO130 quarry layout, so I did a little internet search to see if I can come up with an idea for an HO130 because they're small. Obviously, you can see the little guy standing next to it. I found this on eBay, which was kind of interesting. So next slide. This is what it is. Obviously, you can read the instructions on the left if you're Chinese. This is a photo etched yeah, photo etched parts that you bend and solder together. Next slide. And it requires a little assembly, and the batteries are not included in this. So there were drawings and dimensions for that, and that's what I was basically looking for to see how big something like this was so I could build one. So that's what I attempted to do. Next one. Here's a comparison of the Walters rotary dumper, which I tried to animate, and because it's all plastic, it didn't work too good. And you can see the size of the two engines there, the turn of the century engines, plus those are mini, I forgot what that, you could buy these little HO130 cars. This could give you kind of an idea of the size. Next one. Now what I did is, this is the rotary I made, and I made 4 independent pillow blocks to hold the small ball bearings in because I'm using a magnetic drive on these. You can see that on the left photo on the shaft. You can see where the metal steel is actually riding on top of the magnet, and this kind of it makes it turn better. And if you don't get these things lined up properly, it'll never function correctly. So my thought was, well, if I make one pillow block for each side, it would be easier to line up. So in the next one, Chris, I made a piece of one out of aluminum, and well, actually 2 of them, one on either side, and it was much easier to line up. It also rotated a lot better too. But in order to cut that out, I used my CNC mill. And the video plays, Chris. Why don't we run that and I'll explain what's going on here. All right, what you're seeing here is the first part being milled. This is just the beginning of it. You can see right there, it's stepped down. I'm cutting about a 32nd of an inch deep each time I go around. A lot of people think you can take these and stick it right down in there and mill it right out. It doesn't do that. Now watch as the spindle goes up and down. It'll do it right about there, up and back down again. This is what it's leaving tabs in there. You guys are familiar with the tabs on yeah, lasered parts. Now here's another interesting thing. I can actually drill a hole. The bearings there, the bearing sizes on that was 370, which is basically 5 thousandths under a 3/8 reamer. So the best way to do this was to actually mill out the hole and make it 370 in diameters, because there are no 370 reamers that I know of, and you need a reamer to be able to put that bearing in for a press fit. And here we're coming to the end. You can watch it go up again and down. Right there again, it did another tab in it. And this is the last part of it. And oh, by the way, there when the spindle stops, you'll see a screw sticking out. You know how many times I hit that with the vacuum cleaner and jumped? Yeah, that's a scary thing when you stick that in there. And there's the screw. And this is what you have at the end. You have the tabs holding on there. You can see the part is in there. If you don't have that and that piece lets loose, you wreck your cutter, you wreck the part, and you could even wreck the machine. On the bottom, that other piece of aluminum is what's known as a spoil board. You put that on there so when you cut through, you don't cut into the table of your mill. So that should be the last slide, I guess. No, there's one more slide. Nope, go on to the next one more. There
There
you
we go.
go. It'll be continued someday. So thanks for watching. Any questions?
Fascinating stuff.
Well, I had a question until you explained what the tabs were for, because I was wondering about that. But I completely understand once you said why they're there.
Oh yeah, you should see what it does if it doesn't. I've seen
I
it
don't
throw
want to
pe-
see what it does.
Well,
I can
it throws
imagine.
it throws pieces across the room. It breaks your cutter, and the worst part is if it gets tangled up in the machine, you can actually wreck your machine, especially
Uh,
being a small machine like that. So
So how do
yeah,
you get it out of the tabs? Just a real fine little
just
blade
take
saw?
just take a saw,
Okay.
Sona saw or X-Acto saw. You can
Mhm.
even clip it off with a pair of clippers or snippers, whatever.
Wow. Well, looking forward to seeing it working.
Me too.
Hey, Vern,
Yeah.
after you cut those two pieces out, it looks like your stock you're throwing away is bigger than the piece you want.
I'll tell you what, when I got the aluminum, I was doing some stuff for guys in the hot rod. They wanted motor mounts that were solid for the drag cars, and we were still working at work, the wife and I got a discount on 4x8 sheets of 1/4 inch aluminum. I still have one sheet left, so I don't think I'll ever use that till the day I'm gone.
All right.
Vern, have you ever heard of a Granby car?
Have what?
A Granby car. It's a Granby dumper. The car dumps it all itself on a wedge.
Oh no.
And because I'm interested in seeing what you do for the rotating stops. Because
It'll be a solid stop because what happens is the motors will keep driving the magnets, and once it hits a stop, the motors will keep going, but the rotary part will stop. It'll be hard stops.
okay, because I was interested in, like I say, working rotary is fine until you get to the actual stopping at every 180 degrees or 360.
Well,
And
hopefully when I get it done, I'll have a video of that.
because now there was back in model railroader, back in the early 60s, they did a tilt dumper.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I've seen that. I've got
Okay.
the issue.
Okay,
I've got the issue.
that might be another option that you
No,
might.
that's not another option, not for the size it is.
Okay. All right, take care.
Well,
Thank
you know,
you.
the Gamby cars, Arkansas Lime had a whole lot of those, and that's how they got their lime stuff dumped.
Cool. All right. Any more questions, comments for Bernd?
Not a question, but a comment. The Kingstone Locomotive Works says he's president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. How is that possible?
Very simple. I own all the money.
Yep.
And the wife doesn't get any of it when I get divorced.
I super glued the door shut to my train room. I won't be able to get out of here.
You're stuck. All
That's
right.
all right. I got a refrigerator in here and a bathroom and a phone. I'm all set.
There you go. I just need food. All right. Thanks, Spurned.
You're welcome.
And we will move on now to Jeff Jordan.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, hello. All right.
This also tonight is a work in progress, but I was so excited about where it's gotten so far, I couldn't wait to show it off. Those of you familiar with ON3, ON30 know that Precision Craft made a model of the Galloping Goose. And indeed, I owned that model before I had an ON30 layout. I liked it so much. And it's a pretty nifty model, but it is the version with the bus body, which is the way these motors looked from 1946 to the end. And that's what it was, so I had to live with it until late last year. The outfit called 3DP Trains, who produces a tremendous catalog of 3D printed parts, announced that they were making the Pierce Arrow body for the Precision Craft Goose. And that's what this is. And I think I probably was one of the first people, as soon as the thing appeared, I rushed off an order. A couple of weeks later, this beautiful 3D print arrived of the body and the interior seating, and a little bit of instructions on what to do from there. The 3D printed shell required a little bit of cleanup, especially you'll see in later pictures. There are the running boards, had a bunch of runners on them that had to be cleaned off. And the real challenge is the original Precision Craft model has a very heavy cast frame for the two sections. And I got it, and he said, you got to cut off that, you need to cut away the outside portion of the frame to fit the body. And I thought, no problem, get out the heavy duty discs on my motor tool and I'll cut it off. Hardly made a dent in it. Finally, I took the thing completely to pieces, down to the metal frame, chucked it in a vise, and used a very fine hacksaw blade and went through two of them and finally trimmed off all the excess metal and smoothed it a little bit with the motor tool grinding bits to get it to fit. But it did indeed fit beautifully. And then since I had gone this far in disassembling the model, I decided I wanted to do everything that I had in mind for this model. It was a fairly early model. It comes with an ESU decoder, but a very early version. I wasn't too happy with the sound, and it had a tendency to stall on unpowered turnout frogs. And so all of the mechanism is in the boxcar section. I opened that up and actually took out everything the manufacturer supplied. The circuit boards, the decoder, even the lights all came out, replaced it with a Soundtrax sound decoder with the appropriate sound file, a Keep Alive, and Evans Design LEDs front and back, so the headlight and the backup light function. And so then I was on a roll, and you can see all the windows are glazed. That was a project in and of itself to cut and glue in the glazing in each of the windows. The interior has the engine, the Motorman, which came with the original model, and with the slightest modification, he sat in the driver's seat. In the back, you'll see in the other photos, there are two passengers who are O-scale figures who have been cut down a bit to fit inside. And then finally up on the top, and I'm really pleased with this, is you see the black, the little roof rack. These all had those roof racks up there to hold the passenger's luggage. And needless to say, that did not come in the 3D print. And so I scratch built the roof rack and installed it on the roof as well. And so she is now running and with sound, operating beautifully with the Keep Alive. And so it's got a little work left. It needs a little bit more paint, and it's missing all the decals for the cab section. They're on order, and I'm waiting for them to show up. But other than that, she's pretty well put together. And so I've got just a couple of slides here. I tried to replicate a number of famous photographs of the Rio Grande Southern with the motor stopped at notable locations on the Rio Grande Southern. So in this photo, it stopped southbound at Vance Junction. And there is a very similar photograph of the prototype. Oh, thinking it also did not come with headlights. So you see the automobile headlights on either side of the radiator. I rated my stash of plastic model kits and found a 1/48th scale truck that I was unlikely to ever assemble, and took the headlights out of there, modified them a bit and added them. And I found in research that by the time they installed that upper headlight, the automobile headlights didn't function anyhow. So they don't need light bulbs because they didn't use them. They were just left from the automobile production and they didn't saw them off, basically. Now, maybe in an earlier time, they did use the headlights, but by the time of this appearance, this version, you can see there's a larger headlight on the roof there. I also added the little sun visor. Next slide. See which location is next. There we go. This gives you a good broadside view of the model. I've still got to come back. I'm going to touch up the axle ends, so we don't need the little silver axle ends. But otherwise, you can see that that's the original box car section that came with the model. And then the front is the 3D printed part that I've primed, painted, added the windows. You can see the passenger in the back window there, the roof rack, and so forth. And of course, here it's parked, headed southbound at Rico. Next slide. Okay, here she's emerging from the snow sheds at Lizard Head. And again, though I didn't match it with the historic photos for this presentation, each one of these poses is inspired by a historic photograph. And the last one, I think is, yeah, here she is, passing through Ophir. And so you can see the other side of the vehicle with this photograph and the rest of the detail here. But this now is one of my favorite operating pieces. It runs beautifully. The original Precision Craft model has a very fine motor and gear drive to the power truck. So it runs smoothly and quietly. And then with the new Soundtrax decoder, it responds beautifully. And the Keep Alive, just past this section on my layout, there is a lift out section that's about more than 12, maybe 18 inches long, that when I drop it back in, I should plug in the wire that connects it. But I was just testing this thing out and coming around, and it ran right through the lift out section, even though I had forgotten to power the lift out section. So the Keep Alive kept it running for that period of time through the unpowered track. And so the Keep Alive is a terrific addition to a model that, because of its limited electrical pickup, really needs a Keep Alive. But now I can have regular passenger service on the Rio Grande Southern in the late 1930s using motor number 3.
Yeah, the thing, yeah, Keep Alive's, they have a tendency to have a mind of their own, especially when you don't have a permanent setup. Runs out of track and just keeps on going. It's like,
yeah, you got to be aware
whoops.
of that. And if I had not put the lift out section on, it would have just driven itself right off the end of the earth. But it's really remarkable when you switch off the power and these guys, the sound continues for 10 to 15 seconds. But especially with this model, if it would hit a dead frog, though it would keep rolling because it has a nice flywheel on the motor, it would reinitiate the sound sequence. And when you turn on the power to this, it does a startup. And so it'd be out on the line running along and you'd hear the startup. And so I was glad to get rid of that. And the Keep Alive was really the solution to that. And of course, with that huge box on the back, there was lots of room. Indeed, I kept the manufacturer's speakers. It's the only thing that was the manufacturer included that's still in the box in the back. And then I had installed new decoder, Keep Alive, LEDs, Evan Design LEDs, wonderful LEDs. They permit you to pick color so that when the headlight's on, it's warm white, and it comes with the resistor already wired in line with the LED, so you don't have to do any more work with resistors, even though I had stripped the circuit board, which took out the original resistors. I just wired these LEDs straight to the decoder because the resistor was already in place. The light intensity is nice. But did you know that until 1940, you were not required to operate during the day with your headlight on? And so in many photographs in the 1930s, you'll see the trains operating without the headlight.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Well, thanks, Jeff. Fantastic job. What's still left to be done with it?
The principal thing missing is the lettering on the body of the vehicle. That was a Pierce Arrow body, and it should have, it's motor number 3. It should have the 3s just on the cowling on both sides, and then up the raised part above the back window should have the lettering RGS on there. And so I want to add that. And then I'm debating from the photographs I looked at, it actually had a split windshield. So I might go back and add a tiny little strip across the center of the windshield to give it a split windshield. I also may fill the headlights with something like micro crystal clear. Right now, they're just the empty headlight shells. But as I said, they didn't function in the period, so I don't need to worry about trying to get LEDs into them. The one on the top above the windshield does indeed function, and it has a Evan Design small LED in there.
Right. All right. Are there any questions for Jeff?
So I have a comment. These gooses always fascinated me. They were all part of the fascination of rail buses. So I don't know if you can see me or not.
Yes, yes, I do. I see it.
So several years ago, I bought one of these, and it's a resin cast car that I bought off of eBay. It was expensive. It cost me $100, but I wanted one of these so bad. And the early ones, they had the fenders on them. So I was just thrilled to death, and I went through the whole thing of having to cut that frame down for this to fit on there. What a job that was. Yeah. So I know exactly what you went through there, but they're really neat to run on layout.
Yeah, this model does not include the fenders, and that's okay because if you look at the Pierce Arrow version, there were number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 7. Number 3 and number 7 did not have the fenders. Numbers 4 and 5 did. And so you can make an accurate model of number 3 or number 7 without the Pierce Arrow fenders, because I don't know how I ever would have modeled the fenders.
I think they all lost their fenders after a period of time.
Yeah, and of course, ultimately, all but one of them had their body replaced with the Wayne bus body.
Yeah.
But that was 1946. And I recently backdated and decided that I'm modeling just about 1939, 1940. And so I carefully matched this model to photographs of the car as it appeared in that time period. And they changed a lot over time. They every time they shopped them, they changed the paint and so on and so forth. But
lettering, all kinds of stuff. They changed them constantly as they were being worked on.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was the name of the company again you got that from?
The 3D shell is from 3DP Trains. They have a web page. Just Google 3DP Trains, and you'll find them on there. And frankly, it's a bargain. That's an O scale, ON30, ON3 scale shell, the body and the interior, $38. I think that's a steal personally.
Wow.
Yeah, I paid 100 for mine. So
Well, of course, the original Precision Craft motor number 3, I paid over $200 for that and took a deep breath before I started cutting it up and sawing off the frame. But thankfully, it worked out really well, and I'm really happy with the finished product.
Yeah, it came out very nice so far.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments for Jeff? All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. David Landels, he asked me to speak on his behalf, so hopefully I can do an okay job of it. I don't claim to be an expert on his stuff, but let's see. What's that? Oh, sorry. All right. So David Landels sent us a bunch more photos here. Said all of these are made of styrene, and there's a member of his club that is a 3D printer, so there's some Santa and some sled dogs in there and polar bears that were 3D printed. He says he still needs to add people, lighting, and do the interior of the structures. But let's see. He used references of the structures for the from photos for building these structures. Let's see. It says materials. For materials, he used evergreen styrene. The silos, 60 pieces, are vacuum tubing. You find in homes with actual terminal, has 245. The blue tubes are used pill bottles upside down with extra plastic pieces to look like tubes going into the terminal. And he talks about a Churchill station, which we'll get to. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of work that went into this. And a lot of details in that. Okay.
In the first picture, did you see the critter?
Let's go back to that. Oh yeah, look at that in the bottom right there. Yeah. Yeah, I used to move the cars around. All right. So yeah, it looks like he's got an active pretty active this is a module, I do believe. Pretty active scene here, as you can see. And I believe this is O scale. All right, some other structures he's got going: the Igloo Theater and General Store, Churchill Hotel. I think all of these are scratch built, by the way. Hudson's Bay. Looks like an Outfitters, maybe. Royal Canadian Mounted Police there. A jailhouse. End of it. The town of Churchill itself. Some old Nissan huts. So those came out very nice. Yeah, there's a better photo of some of these. All right. There's the helipad with a Canada painted on it, or is probably printed on there. All right, Port of Churchill. I'm gonna guess and say that's the Churchill station. He said it's the Churchill station is on another module and haven't finished it completely, but he will share when it's done. There it is. Looks like it's snowed a while ago, but you see the remnants of the snow on there. Oh, that looks like about it. Does anybody have anything they want to contribute to this? So we thank David for sharing and look forward to what else he's working on. So thanks, David. And now we have Bill Stimson.
I'm here.
All right.
So this is a small kit that I bought at the National Train Show last year. And it just struck me as kind of a neat kit. Go on to the next slide, please. One of the things that I found with this, and you can kind of see it in this picture, is Showcase has you're basically building an interior structure, and then you put the siding on the outside. There's like a 1/32 masonite on the inside. I'm not sure it's mason, probably laser board. And then these are like 1/32 or 1/64 thick pieces with the siding on them that go over the top of it. Go on to the next slide. And here's the final product. But the windows sort of sit back into that masonite or task board inner structure. And it was a fun kit. There's lots of bump outs and doors and windows and stuff on the roof and the whole 9 yards. So next slide.
Yeah, it looks like a fun kit.
You can see even there's 2 layers of stuff on the roof there, the boards that kind of accent the area. Really kind of a neat kit. Next slide.
Oh,
nope.
Wow.
I guess
That was
that's
quick.
it. Oh, and by
Yep.
the way, the two vehicles there are also Showcase miniature kits that were also fun, very fun to build. They're very tiny pieces because this is all in N scale. So
So the rock you use there for the foundation, what is that, a printed or?
it's actually a decal, Phil.
Ah,
You paint he says paint the area underneath it white, and then you put the decal on it.
cool.
It's
That
kind
looks
of
really-
kind of a neat way to do it. I was surprised when I got to that point.
Yeah, it looks nice detail for N scale. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very similar to that paper you get from the guy in Greece. That it's basically wallpaper with rocks printed on it. It looks fairly similar. So
Very nice.
yeah, this is a really neat little building. All the different little features of it, all the roof details there, the water barrels for fire protection, etc. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I think
Well,
that's
thanks.
some amazing detail for an N scale.
Oh yeah,
That blows me away.
It's
Yep.
amazing what you can do with a laser cutter.
yep. Are those plastic windows and doors, or are they?
No, they're task board with adhesive on the back of them.
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
Okay. All right.
Like I say, he does a pretty good job with his laser cutter.
Yeah. Yeah. Great job. All right. Are there any questions for Bill? All righty. Well, thank you, Bill.
Yep.
And we will move on to Rich. Hello, Rich.
Hello, Chris.
Alrighty.
Okay, this is a diorama. I'm changing tactics now. I'm going to show the completed diorama first, and then I'll show you how I got to this point. But on the railroad line, I made this for honor to another modeler. He made a model one day and he put my name on it, which he put on it Penman Hotel. Now that's the handle I use on all my other forums. So I put his name on this. I called it Guff's Gas and Go because his name is Dave Guffey. he always mentioned that he liked my modeling because I showed step-by-step steps when you build a model. And he liked it because other models followed suit. And it shows not just the completed model when you're done, they got to see every aspect of the build. So next photo. Now I'm a pack rat when it comes to scratch building. My wife has a craft room on the other side of the house, the same floor I'm on. And she had thrown away one of those cardboard
Tubes.
yeah, that you have packing tape on. It's about 3 inches across. In HO scale, it's 23 feet across and 13 feet 6 inches high. And it sat on my desk, and she says, "What the hell are you going to do with that?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to build a building with it." So I cut in some doors, and I decided to make it into a garage. And those doors were from Tiki. They were the square freight doors, and I cut them down the center because I wanted to have them open. And then those upper parts were also from Tiki, as well as that side door. So you can go next one.
Okay.
Okay, this is I decided that I had to build the bottom, which I drew the circle for the cardboard tube. And then these are the boards. I think they're 4x6 in HO scale. This is HO scale. Those were for my rafters for the top. And then so I had to cut them to fit the circles so that they met the top of the walls. You can go to the next one. So I cut the sheeting material for the floor in this, and it went within the circle. The tube sits on that so you don't see the floor at all. And the vertical strip board I put in there was 2x8s, I think. And so I cut in the back opening, the round. That's going to be 3 windows in there. And I set the car in there to see how it would look, because I have to add workbenches to this. And then it also has strip wood vertical on the outside as well. You'll see that later on. Next photo. Okay, after I got that stuff all in there, the 2 rafters you see were for my lighting. And I had to hide the lighting, but I wanted to make it this way so that those other purlins or other rafters you saw earlier, they're going to be glued to the removable roof. Now, if I ever need to get in here and change a light bulb, all I got to do is lift the top of that off, and I can do that easily without disturbing the rest of the model. Up on the upper right of this photo, you'll see there's a men's and ladies toilet. I'll get to that later, but I like to add a little humor when I build a model. He did it on the model he built for me, so in turn I decided to do this for him. Next photo. Okay, this toilet, the ladies' side is on the left and the men's side is on the right, but the men's side got full, so they boarded up the door, and the men are supposed to go out back. And then there's a guy walking up the pathway there with a shovel. So you know what he's going to do? Bury the parts that aren't liquid. Next photo.
It's a neat little building. Actually, they both are.
That I want to tell you, that little building took over a week to make, and it's got this the real cedar shingles you put on that to glue on one by one.
Yep.
I couldn't believe that took me over a week to make that little one, and the other one went much quicker, and I had to glue on all that vertical boards.
Yeah, I think I painted my my living room in like a day, but the bathroom took about a week.
And
So
the
I know
junk
what you're talking
around
about.
back there was, I think, from Chooch, where they made those resin details that you could buy in little packages.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just added the tractor as a Fordson. And that other car out front, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with 187 scale modelers that used to go to Springfield. Chester Fesmeyer passed away. That was one of the models that he built.
Hmm.
You'll see that out on the next photo. So, well, that guy out back there by the toilet, he was waiting to go.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Actually, the sign on there says Ted was here. That was another guy that was on the railroad forum.
Is that still around? I haven't been on there in years.
No, they lost their server.
Oh, okay.
I believe this is the last picture, or maybe one. No, is this the last one?
I'm not sure. I used to put L's down at the bottom. I need to start doing that again.
No, there's one more picture.
Okay.
No, I guess not.
Oh yeah, it continues on. I think there's a few photos of this.
Okay, before I get into this, I want to say something about this. When I scratch build models, especially when I want to build a model with parts from a kit that's currently being sold, I don't do anything on it until I contact the manufacturer of the kit that's currently selling. Now, these walls in front here, the stone walls, is part of Sierra West railroad camp. What I did was, railroad camp walls were stone walls that were made in resin. So I decided to call Brett Gallant one night and ask him if I could scratch build this model because he was currently selling it. I got him on the phone, and before I could ask him my question, we got into another conversation. I ended up buying 3D prints from him, and then I was about to ask him that question about getting permission to do this, and without saying anything, he said, "Oh, I wanted to tell you, you can scratch build any of my models anytime you want." And I was astonished because he said that, and I said, "Really?" I said, "Why?" He says, "Because I've seen some that you made and they were scratch builds." And he goes, "You honestly do a really good job with my kits." He goes, "So have at it." And I was really happy to hear that from him. But anyway, I took his resin stone from railroad camp and I covered them with liquid brush on rubber, made my own molds, and poured these out of hydrocal. So you can go to the next photo. I showed the beginning of this too because I wanted to show you where I'm currently at. This is a work in progress and I'm not finished with this model. And I will complete it at a later my build. So there's my plaster walls that I made from my mold. And there are the interior walls I'm going to use on the left-hand side, and then the two trusses I had to make for the tops that go on the ends of this wall. And this main structure you're looking at here is 3 3¼ wide by 4 3/4 long. And then that other building you saw hooked up next to it is 2 7/8 of an inch square. So it'll give you some idea in HO scale how large this is. You can go to the next one.
Yep. Maybe. There we go.
Okay, so even though that upper wall is plaster, I decided to make the interior wood, and I want to glue on horizontal boards inside of this on all 4 walls. And down by the eraser, that's where I'm putting in a sliding door. I don't know if you remember before I showed on a Saturday workshop that we used to have where I made the slider doors. Next photo. Okay, that's just my ruler laying down there next to that so you can see how long those were. And I believe they're about, I don't know, 2 inches high. Next photo. Okay, so this is where I'm at with the interior of this, and the open spot on this side where there's no wall is where that slider door wall goes. I'm just showing it's off of here now so you can see there's an office on the left, and you come down a little stairway and you go into this will be a workroom, and the room further away from us is the 2 7/8 square building that hooks up next to this, and that's where the blacksmith equipment will go with the hearth. Next photo. Okay, I put this on here because when I was in my 20s, I worked in Rochester, New York for a truss builder, and the guys on the railroad line were happy to see this because a lot of their structures span these spans, and these particular designs work well for the buildings that they make. So mine fits the left side, fourth one down. The How K is what I use because it spans from 24 to 36 feet. Next photo. Okay, so the previous photo that had these vertical timbers on it for the end trusses, I'm gluing on 2 by, I think they're, all right, those are 2 by 8s. If I go 2 by 10s, it's just too few number of boards. And the square on the left-hand side was because I want to put a round window on the end of that. So next photo. And there are the 2 round windows. One's placed on the other one that hasn't been cut in yet to the left. And the one on the right is cut in, but that shows the interior of those. And those were made by, I believe, Scale Structures, and they charged $8 for 7 of those windows. So if you had a building where you needed more than 7, you had to buy 2 packs of them. Kind of strange. Next photo. Here's where I'm making the trusses for the larger main building. You have to sort of balance them so that you get the spacing correct, but then those aren't glued on. They were just sitting there, and I completely was flabbergasted because I could photo that without them falling over because the boards that are in there that look like purlins on the bottom actually held them upright so I could take this picture. A lot of times I work like this with sketches. It just helps when you construct something. Next one. That's about where I'm at with this roof right now. I haven't decided if you even want to put a ridge board between those trusses either, because I was going to build my roof a different way, and then I had a roof that I was constructing for another building, and I decided to use it on there. So if I do use the one I will show you, you don't really need it for structural stability because the trusses work well just by themselves. And that little building where the blacksmith shop will be off to the northwest there, that roof is in that shape right now. I haven't decided, maybe put purlins on that and maybe wood with battens. I'm not sure yet, but I want to leave that sort of visible so you can see the welding shop tools later on. So I haven't decided what to do with that side yet. You can go to the next one. Okay, this is copper sheeting by K&S. I had to buy this online. This is HO scale, and the separations between the indent, what do you call them? The beams printed is 0.187 the thickness of the sheet was 0.003 and it's 5" by 7". You get two pieces. And I think I paid $15 a pack for this stuff because the sellers know it's rare now. No one has it for sale. And I searched forever until I found two packages of it. So I told our friend Bern that he should make another tool to make this stuff. But I got no response on that. Next sheet. I'm going to hear it now. Next sheet. Okay, so what I want to do with that is make a copper roof. Now, I thought about painting it, but I don't want to paint it. You know what paint looks like on this stuff? Not real. I wanted to make it real. So what I did was I searched all over online and I found a recipe to spray some chemicals on this to make the roof real copper. It's in its early stages here because this is just after I sprayed the chemicals, it dried. And in order to get this patina exactly right, I know I'm going to have to do some more sprays on this, but I've held back because I want to see if I should take another piece of this stuff, spray it again just to experiment somewhat before I do anything more with this, because I don't want to ruin it, but I want to make it better looking. So before I can do that, then this model's on hold. I really like the way that patina looks on there. The chemicals I use, I will explain in the next My Build when I finish this, because it's too long and lengthy to explain right now, and I don't want to take up a whole lot of time. There's other responders tonight. But the chemicals used for this, I can briefly tell you, they're rubbing alcohol, warm water, ammonia. What you want is a grease-fighting detergent ammonia, lemon juice, and iodine-free salt. Before you spray that stuff on there, you have to clean it with nail polish remover or a commercial paint thinner, or see, it says lacquer coatings with acetone. You want to remove before you can spray those other chemicals on there. And after you spray that chemical solution on there several times, you got to put it into a Ziploc baggie to make it sort of heat up. You know, you want to put it in a warm spot, not in a cold basement, because it has to dry at a certain temperature to keep the patina. It just took me 2 weeks to spray this and then have it sit around and wait for it to change colors. But actually it did within 2 or 3 days. And I believe it's the combination of using the ammonia and the lemon juice that made it ferment. I really like that. I think it'll look cool on there. So I was thinking if I can experiment with this a little more, maybe I can make another copper roof for that blacksmith shop. When I get done, I'll put some skylights in the roof. It's
Yeah, the
still a
patina looks
toss-up what I want to
fantastic.
do with the other roof, though. Is that the last one?
Might be. Let's see here. Yep, sure is.
So
Yeah,
what do you guys
that
think?
that roof looks fantastic, and I agree. I mean, if you can do what needs to be done to it naturally versus using paint, then that's sort of the way to go. I would be concerned about, and I'm sure you'll probably address this next week, but I would be concerned about the venting of the vapors.
Well, I'm still here.
But all right. Well, thanks, Rich.
I actually had to buy a spray bottle to do that with because I was going to use an older one that I had glue in, but I didn't dare to do that because I need that for spray glue.
All right, well, thanks, Rich. Are there any questions for Rich before we close out the evening?
No question, but I got actually a question. How did you the nice color on the plaster. That looks like sandstone almost. What did you use to get that nice color, Rich?
Trying to find a
Think,
picture of it.
That's
think you might have
residue
went to.
from first picture.
Oh,
There
there
it
it
is.
is. Okay. Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
residue, that's residue from smoking cigarettes in this room.
I gave that up a few years ago.
No, I used Floqual stains on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it really looks nice. I mean, the blend of it is really great on there. So,
Well,
and
I first went over it with Floqual driftwood stain. Now I
Mhm.
still have some bottles of that, and I'll tell you, people on eBay are selling that driftwood stain if they still have it for $100 a bottle, and it's only 1 ounce. I won't pay that much, but I did pay 20.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it
Now I
did a
now I
nice,
have now I have
did a
6.
nice, he did a nice job on that, and I'll be working on that machine for you to do your roof one of these days.
All right.
Yeah, that stonework did come out fantastic.
See, it looks better in person, but a lot of people use weathering powders on top of an alcohol to color plaster with. I like to use the Floqual stains, and I know they're rare and hard to come by, but they really blend nice.
Yeah.
What you do is use the plasters are very porous. Now, if you're going to use other paints like the acrylic paints, what you want to do is mist it very lightly with water, and the water keeps the plaster from soaking up tremendously fast.
Hmm.
Now, I didn't have to do that with this. All I did was use those Floqual stains. But you have to take some pieces of plaster that you're not. If you want to do a plaster kit, don't experiment on the kit itself. Just take some pieces of plaster that you might have laying around from making a rock wall and experiment with it first.
I wonder,
Fine.
have you ever tried like Hunterline or Vitero stains?
I use Hunterline stains, but I didn't try that on there.
Okay, because that would be hopefully a more modern solution. I was just curious as to what the differences are.
Well, for HO scale, if you follow any of Tom Yorkie's directions that came in his kits, he always used the Floqual stains. He used driftwood, mahogany, teak, and walnut. And that's what I followed when I did this one.
Right, but those aren't produced anymore. So it's like, what's the modern solution?
I own 30 of them.
So, all right. Are there any more questions for Rich? All right. Well, thanks, Rich. Amazing work there, and thanks for sharing the explanation. This slide right here, I'm going to steal for my own use because
I'll send it to you.
Well, heck, you already did. So.
No, that truss sled is a good one.
Yeah, that's a keeper. All right, and I did look up that copper sheeting and on their website, and I did not see it. So either I'm blind or they don't make it anymore.
I typed it. I'll send you my scans.
All right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Rich.
Anybody else want them? Anybody else want that recipe?
Well, you're going to do it next week, right?
Well, I'm not going to do the rest. Well, yeah, I will.
Yeah. All right.
Not next week. I mean, I got 3 other structures I got to do for other forums I'm on right now. I can't do that next week.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you said you were going to do one either next week or soon. So
before the year's out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Yeah, we definitely are very interested in seeing how that technique works.
Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah. Thank you, Rich. All right. Let's see. Very successful show. I think we occupied probably a little over an hour. So that was that's great. Long shows are very good. So thank you for everyone that participated tonight. And as always, if you have not participated in the past, we would love to hear from you and see what you're working on. So to segue into this slide here, the upcoming My Build challenges and shows. February 25th is yet another Anything Goes. Please get your photos to me by February 22nd. Also, before I forget, please send me a description of what you're working for, because Jim Kello uses it to write an article. And that information is very critical to that article. March 25th, we have a challenge show, which will be rolling stock. Please send your photos to me by March 22nd. Then in April on the 22nd and May 27th, both Anything Goes. Around that same time frame, we will have our yearly what do you call it? A survey to see what people want to do for the next 12 months in terms of challenges, etc. So if you have any suggestions, please send me your suggestions for theme ideas, and we'll certainly incorporate those into the survey. So hopefully we can come up with some really cool stuff again this year. Anyway, and rounding that out on June 24th is a challenge, which is scratch builds. So whatever scratch build you've got hanging out, like what Rich is working on, the submission deadline for that is June 21st. So at any time, you're more than welcome to send me photos. And let's say you've got a rolling stock challenge, but you don't have anything for February. I'll gladly put that in the March folder. And or if you've got scratch builds and say, hey, hang on to this till June, then I'll gladly throw that in. Or maybe it's a challenge month and you've got something for Anything Goes. I'll gladly put it in that folder too. So just because we have next month coming up and it's an Anything Goes, but you've got a rolling stock or whatever that you want to contribute for the challenge show, please don't hesitate. The sooner you get it to me, the better. And we can all make this show better by contributing. So thank you to everyone for watching, and thanks to those that participated. So with that, I will stop sharing and I'll turn it back over to you. Phil.
Super, Chris. Thank you. That was great.